What's up, everyone? Cyclops from Paramount Cyclops here. This is going to be from the Daily Mail. You defund the police, and what do you expect? Crime is going to go up. Why? Come on now. Think about it. You have a city. You let the entire world know you're defunding the police by millions of dollars, meaning you're not going to have as much police. They're not going to have as much equipment. They're not going to have as much training. Every criminal in the world, their ears perk up. And they're like, defund the police? Yes, please. Why wouldn't they? And what is the result? More crime. Let's read this. Happy now? Minneapolis delivers on its promise to defund the police and wipes $8 million from force's budget, despite record crime levels plaguing the city. Yeah, who would have thunk it? Who could possibly have thunk that you defund the police, crime's going to go up? Gee, I don't know. Literally anybody with a brain. Minneapolis City Council unanimously approved a budget which is set to move $8 million of funding from the police department to violence prevention, mental health services, and other programs. And the thing about the violence prevention, everything is reactive. Okay? Law enforcement can never be proactive because they can only react to the new ways that criminals do things. You come up with a law that says you can't do this. You come up with a method to capture the criminals. It works for a while. The criminals find a way around it, a way through it, a way over it, a way under it, whatever. And then you have to adjust to that. It is always reactive. Okay? Because criminals are reactive. It's like the battle between offense and defense in the medieval ages. You had better armor, so you came up with better weapons, so you came up with better armor, so you came up with better weapons, so you came up with better armor, so on and so forth, until you got to a point where a certain kind of armor was now obsolete because they couldn't overcome this certain weapon, so then they had to come up with new armor. And then when they came up with new armor and new methods, they had to come up with new weapons. It's just the way things work. Crime prevention and law enforcement follows the same path. It's reactive. Defunding the police, $8 million, and taking away from their budget. No, you should be funding the police more. If your police department has a problem, you need more funding. You need more training. Now you're going to have less training of the very people out there designed to protect you. Minneapolis. You're going to have individuals who are not as well trained and not as well equipped and not as many of them to protect you from those people who don't care about the law. Mayor Jacob Frey, who had threatened to block the proposed budget shift, was able to maintain his calls for a $14 million cut to the state's police department while maintaining staffing levels for sworn officers intact. It's a lot of equipment gone, I'll tell you what. The city in Minneapolis has been at the center of calls to defund the police after George Floyd. The George Floyd incident in May, sparking outrage and igniting mass demonstrations against police brutality and a nationwide reckoning with that word. See, can't even report the news. Can't even report the news. Defund the police, get rid of... what a world we live in. Since his deletion, violent crime in the city has soared, with homicide, robbery, aggravated assault, burglary, and theft, and arson all up on last year's figures. Well, this video's toast. So I hope I can earn a like, a comment, a subscribe, just based on the fact that I believe you guys are smart enough to get all the information and that I don't treat you like a child. And I will give you the information as matter-of-fact manner as YouTube will allow me to do. The Minneapolis mayor said the vote, which took place last night, was a defining moment for the city. We all share a deep and abiding reverence for the role our local government plays in service of the people of our city. And today there are good reasons to be optimistic about the future of Minneapolis. There is. Well, how is any of these numbers optimistic? How are any of these numbers optimistic? Yes, this is down. Good. That's something. This is up. This word right here. See, you are not children. If it were up to me, I would be telling you this in a matter-of-fact manner, and we wouldn't have to beat around the bush on it. How is this optimistic? How is this optimistic? How is this optimistic? That one is not optimistic. That one is not optimistic. This one is, but okay. All the others are not. What optimism are you seeing? Are you reversing the graph? Are you not seeing these colors? Do you think this is 2020? Weird. The city council had initially approved a proposal to cut the city's authorized police force to 750 officers, down from the current 888 beginning in 2022. But they changed course late Wednesday after the mayor called the move irresponsible. The council voted 7-6 Wednesday to keep the cap at 888. Problem with that is keep the cap at 888, but statistically your population should be growing. So as the population grows, you need to grow your police department with it. Tonight, the city council passed a budget that represents a compromise and also a big step forward into a more compassionate and effective public safety future. I understand that you want compassion. I got you. But you should keep the police force the same, keep the budget the same, and add to the budget to add the individuals you want. You want social workers, you want homeless advocates to roll with the police. I got you. So add them. Don't take police away and replace them. What are you going to do when you run up on someone who is not going to be reasonable? And that social worker is not equipped to handle the situation. Now you have a situation where you have a civilian, a social worker, who is designed to go in and make the situation better, but they are making the situation worse because now you have a civilian in the line of danger. You think we're not going to hear about stories if they implement this of a team of whatever it's going to be, one officer, one social worker, and one advocate going up there, and the social worker and the advocate telling the officer, okay, back off, you wait back there. The person has mental issues and things go south. Well, now you've got two civilians in the line of fire, literally. Don't take away from, add to. Compassionate and effective public safety future, said City Council member Steve Fletcher, co-author of the proposal to lower the cap on staffing. He said the City Council has more work to do, and we cannot afford to remain stuck in the past any longer. I agree. So add to your police department. Don't take away from your police department. Supporters call the City Council's plan Safety for All, the latest version of the Defund the Police movement that Minneapolis and other cities have considered since the deletion of Mr. Floyd. The plan cuts nearly $8 million from Frey's $179 million policing budget and redirects it to mental health teams, violence prevention programs, and other initiatives. But what happens to the trenches? You see, it's like you're at war. I get it. Trench warfare is horrible. You want to get your guys out of there. It's nasty. So you come up with a team of negotiators. So you pull your troops away from the trenches and replace them with negotiators. Well, the enemy side doesn't care. The enemy side's looking at you like, bravo, you've made our job easier. The criminals are looking at it as, right on, defund the police. Yeah. Because what's that social worker going to do? What's that community advocate going to do? Do you think criminals care? Come on now. I've been on both sides of the fence. And I'll let you in on a secret. The criminals don't care. You defund the police and you're bringing a big smile to a criminal's face. Every time a city defunds the police, a criminal gets a big smile. I was trying to think of how to fit in a criminal gets his wings, but that doesn't fit. The council has also set aside $11.4 million reserve fund, which will provide more than $6 million for Frey's plan to hire new recruits, Star Tribune reports. What do you mean hire new recruits? Didn't you just say you were capping it? So hire new recruits? And then here's the other thing. How are you going to hire new recruits? How are you going to hire anybody into the police department? If they're defunded and they're ill-equipped, then why would anybody want to be a cop? Getting put into that danger with not enough equipment and not enough manpower. I could see it being a domino effect. I mean, I don't know. In order to get a hold of the money, the police department will have to approach the council next year and seek approval. The morale is going to plummet. The morale is going to absolutely plummet. I guarantee you. I guarantee you. Police have recorded 532 gunshot victims this year as of last Thursday, more than double the same period a year ago. Carjackings have also spiked to 375 so far this year, up 331% from the same period last year. I came from the 90s, the mid-90s and the late 80s, where carjackings were a big thing, man. It happened all the time. And we do not want to go back to that point where you got to look at the distance of the car in front of you and you got to maintain that certain distance. So that way, if someone does come, you have enough distance to jet forward and hopefully get out of the situation. You don't want to get into that position anymore. I lived through that. Back in the early to mid-90s, carjackings were a big thing. That's why auto manufacturers came up with that whole thing now. When your car moves and you hit a certain mile per hour, the doors automatically lock. It was to prevent you from that. If you have an older vehicle, you want to go back to those times where you got to make sure, all doors locked, yep, doors locked, yep. 331% up. God, I don't want to go back to the violent 90s. That was crazy. Violent crimes have topped 5,100 compared with just over 4,000 for the same period in 2019. Yeah, because you advertise that you're defunding your police and the criminals have a heyday. I wouldn't be halfway surprised if people who were criminals living in another state said, what? Minneapolis is defunding the police? I think I'm going to move to Minneapolis. Why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they? And here's the other crazy thing. I'm the one that's going to get the hate just for bringing this forward on YouTube. YouTube's going to hate me for it. They're going to flag this video. I'm going to spend hours and hours battling on them. I mean, you guys are adults. You deserve to hear the information. You really do. That way you can make your own opinion based upon multiple sources. I love you guys. The rest is pretty much exactly what you would expect. 160 officers are said to have resigned or want to leave the force from the start of the year. That's only going to get worse. It's a domino effect. You defund the police. They don't have the equipment. They don't have the manpower. The people that are there are going to have to work more hours. They're going to have to work harder. They're going to quit. Less people. They're going to have to get more people in. You're going to get new recruits. New recruits are going to experience it. They're going to wash out real quick because they're going to burn out real quick. If you're having an issue with your police department, don't take away from your police department. Add to your police department. You want to add social workers? Great. Add them to the police department. Don't replace police officers with civilians. You're only going to make a problem. I love you guys. Inform yourselves, and I will see you on the next one.